Hello and welcome to the Cedar Arrows Podcast. My name is Rebecca and this is my channel where I love to share with you little snippets of all of the simple, everyday, beautiful things that I enjoy. You will occasionally hear some things here about our homestead or our homeschooling or homemaking, but primarily this is a knitting podcast with a good bit of reading thrown in. You can find me also on Instagram and Ravelry as HappyHomemaker05. I am thrilled that you've joined me today, and I hope you will find something here that will bless you. It has been a few weeks since the last time I recorded. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, and it is a beautiful sunshiny day. Just lovely day outside my window. I'm watching the cows, and I'm just so excited to have some sunshine today. It has been a while, like I said, since I recorded last, because our weekends have just been so full. It has been my routine to record and edit and upload over a couple of days, over a weekend, but the last few weekends have just been really full and I haven't been able to fit it in. So we're trying now with a middle of the week podcast, and I'll see if that fits any better. It is still my goal to record every other week, and when I can't hit that, I get to it when I can. But thank you for your patience, and thank you for trying out if you haven't watched me before, and thank you for coming back if you have. I guess we will jump right into the finished objects. I have several to show you this time, and then a couple of whips, and then just some fun chatty stuff at the end. So settle in and cozy up and let's chat. My first finished object was a whip last time I recorded. This is the Mill Hollow Scarf by Emily Clausen of Salt City Knits. This is a lovely pattern. It's a one skein pattern, one skein of fingering weight yarn. It begins here with a point, and then you increase to a certain width, and then it decreases back down to a point. This beautiful lace panel is carried all the way through the scarf, and the garter on each side grows and then decreases back down. It is just lovely. I enjoyed knitting it so much. This was the first test knit I have ever done. I talked about this quite a bit last time, so you've already seen it and heard about it if you watched the last episode. But I'm so thrilled with how it turned out. I just think it's beautiful. This yarn that I used is Magpie Fibers Swanky Sock in their Evil Beaver colorway. I think the brown color is just so rich, and there's some tonal variations there, but it's nearly a solid. I just think it's beautiful, and the yarn base is so squishy and soft. It is the perfect yarn to wear around your neck. I absolutely love it. I thought it was a perfect pairing. I had this skein in my stash and I just kind of been saving it for just the right thing. And then as soon as I saw the test call that Emily put out, I thought that would be perfect. So I was so excited to get to do the test knit, so excited with this lovely finished object. I've worn it several times already, gotten lots of compliments on it. I just couldn't be happier with it. I do plan on knitting this pattern again. I have a couple of gifts in mind for other people, and I just could not be more pleased with the way that turned out. Since my last episode, the pattern has been released. It is available now, and you should definitely knit it. Moving right into my next finished object, I guess. After I finished the Mill Hollow Scarf, this was the thing that got most of my attention until it was finished. This pattern is called Be Simple Variations by Carolyn Glaus Todrink. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's a pattern on Ravelry, a free pattern, and it's just a very simple, long and shallow garter stitch eyelet shawl. The way I knit it, I just used one skein of fingering weight, and I would really call it more of a scarf. You could customize however large you want to make it. That's one of the things I love about this kind of pattern, is that you can just go and go and go with however much yarn you have. I thought about getting into a second skein with this, but I decided just to finish it off right as I ended that first skein that I had. And I mean, I had just a little bit of yarn left. I used almost the entire skein on this. It finishes with a lovely picot bind off. I don't know how well you can see that. I think I've mentioned this every time I record, but the best place for me to sit for good lighting, the window is behind the camera, and I really can't tell how much things are showing up. Anyway, it has a nice optional picot bind off, which I'm always really excited about as I get started, really done with before I get to the end of the bind off, but also really glad that I did by the time it's complete. This yarn was the full skein from the Candy Shop Yarns Advent Calendar from 2023. It is called Malibu Beach, and I think it's beautiful. It was the absolute perfect way to wrap up and tie together all of those colorways from the Advent Calendar, and I just could not have been more thrilled with it. I think it's so lovely, and I just enjoyed every minute of knitting with this yarn. So this will be a gift. By the time this episode goes up, this gift will have been handed off to its recipient, but this is for a dear friend of mine for her birthday, and I can't wait to give it to her. My next WIP is something that I've already given to the recipient. It was another gift. I had 3 February birthday gifts to work on, and I got all of them finished in time for the birthdays, so I was very excited about that. I'll show a picture here. I knit the crisp apple strudel mittens again. As before, as the last pair I made, these were knit in Quince & Co. Chickadee yarn in the pomegranate colorway this time. These are for a friend of mine that I worship with, and I gave them to her last weekend, and they fit her beautifully, and I was very excited to see that they fit her so well. I've talked before about this pattern. I love this pattern. It is so much fun to knit. It always surprises me how quickly it knits up, because, you know, the cables always just look so detailed and intricate, but really you can just get into a groove with it and just sail. I absolutely love knitting this pattern. I am sure I will knit it again. This was the third pair I've made from this pattern, and I just love it. So again, the pattern is called the Crisp Apple Strudel Mittens, designed by Katie H. Carroll of Katinka Designs, and I used Quince & Co. yarn in the Chickadee base and pomegranate colorway. I think they just turned out beautifully. This particular pair, the cuff of the mitten, or not the cuff, but the wrist part before the thumb gusset begins, is 1 repeat shorter than the pattern calls for, and that was not intentional, but we're calling it a design element, not a mistake. So, wish I had those to show you, but I just couldn't record in time, so it's okay. They're beautiful. My next finished object, and my last birthday project for February, is my son's birthday socks. And I forgot to get my sock blockers down, but it just is what it is. These monstrosities are the Blueberry Waffles Socks pattern by Sandy Turner. It's a beautiful waffly texture pattern. I knit these in Lang Super Socks yarn, and it took almost the entire 100 grams to knit this pair. My son I feel sure I've said this before, but my son's feet are now bigger than my husband's, and so these are the largest socks that I make for anybody in our house. And I felt like I was never going to finish them. It took me right at a month. I knew that coming off of Christmas and having knit so many pairs of socks for Christmas, I just wasn't really in the mood. So I started these plenty early so that I would not have trouble getting them done. And I think I got them done a day or two, 3 or 4 days before his birthday. So he loves them. They are beautiful, and I'm quite happy with how they turned out. I really do enjoy knitting this blueberry waffle pattern. It's so squishy, and it's easy to read, and it is a little more interesting than just plain stockinette. Having done, I mean, this is a 10-inch leg and nearly that long of a foot. Having done 2 socks in that pattern, I think I'm done with patterned socks for a little while, but but my next, that kind of wraps up birthday season for us. All of the kids' birthdays are within like half of the year, and so then so I have a few months to breathe before I need to knit the next man-sized pair of child socks. So he was really happy with these, and I'm really happy with them, and glad that they were done in time, glad they fit him well. So yay for that. My last finished object for this episode is a beloved bonnet by Tin Can Knits. I know there are just thousands of this bonnet project pages on Ravelry of this bonnet. I absolutely love this pattern. I know everybody does. It is so sweet. I don't even know how many times I've knit this. It is just so much fun. It's very repetitive and easy to know where you are and to just go without having to refer to the pattern. So I really enjoy that. I love that the little ties are I-cord, and they're just part of making the bonnet. I don't so much enjoy having to attach cords after the fact, which I've done for a couple of other bonnet patterns. So I absolutely love this pattern. I think it's so stinking cute with a little pointed top there. I have some friends who are expecting their 3rd little girl this spring, and so I thought it would be fun to make matching bonnets for all 3 of them. So this is for the oldest. I think she'll be 6 when the baby comes, and then I'll make the toddler size and a baby size as well in the same yarn. And I can't wait to see them all done together. But this is Knit Picks Swish DK in the Haze Heather colorway, which is a nice kind of gray leaning purple. I knit this just over this past weekend. I knit most of it on Sunday. It's just such a nice, like I said, very repetitive and rhythmic, and you can just see where you are instead of having to always be looking at the pattern. So I really enjoy that. It makes it a lot easier for on-the-go knitting when I can just pick it up and knit. So I don't think the baby is due until April. So I haven't cast on the next bonnet right away because I have some other more pressing things to do first, but I'll be getting those done over the next few weeks so that they are ready to send when the baby comes. So that is all my finished objects for this time. So I guess we'll go on into whips. The first whip I will show you is an ongoing whip. You've seen it before. You will see it again. But here is my Cozy Memories blanket. I don't know what you can see. I absolutely love this. I have talked with you before about how it sat for years in a closet, and I almost ripped it out and just decided not to. Decided to let it sit a little longer before making that very final decision, and then a few weeks later, that was the only thing I wanted to work on. And I'm not really sure what made the difference, but I'm here for it. So this has multiplied quite a bit since then. Last time, or maybe the time before, I showed you that I had kind of come back to my first square, and this was my first square, and I added these 3 around it so that those will be the center instead of doing it in strips. The Crazy Sock Lady always does her Cozy Memories blankets that way, and I like the way it looks, so I just thought I would go back and add that as if it had been at the beginning. Goodness. So I've been kind of building off of those central squares, trying to kind of square it off. So it's kind of a funny, got this jutting out piece right here, and I've added most of this, like all that strip since last time, except for these 2 that I showed you last time. Anyway, it's hard to show, and words keep getting lost in my brain, so whatever. Anyway, isn't it pretty? I'm really enjoying it. I love how rhythmic it is. I was actually working on another project a few weeks ago that there's nothing wrong with the project, but I just wasn't feeling it in that moment, and I put it down and picked this up and just immediately kind of felt myself relax. It was just like coming home. It's just the thing to work on when you're tired and just want something cozy. So I'm really enjoying this. I have gone through all of my sock yarn scraps and separated out all the ones I haven't yet put into the blanket, and have that jar up there has some of my minis in it that I will add. What you can see right now is from the Candy Shop Yarns Advent Calendar. I also have several in the basket that I keep this in, so I still have lots of scraps to work through. And my 12-year-old son loved it so much he has started his own blanket, so as I finish with my scraps, I'll wind off 5 or 6 grams for him, and he puts them into his little blanket, which at this point is only a couple of squares, but he's really excited about it. My oldest daughter is also making one, and so we have shared scraps too, so that's really fun. I love seeing them really embracing their knitting. That's a lot of fun. So that is, it's my most comfortable, cozy knit right now. I love it. It'll be a while, so it's a good thing I love it, because it's nowhere near finished, but it's much more about the process than the finished object for me. My next whip I did show you last time, but it has grown a good bit. This has kind of been a back burner project, but it is one that it has been really good for working on when I'm reading with the children, or another one of those that's mostly mindless, and I'm really enjoying that. This is the Simply Scrappy Cowl by Helen Stewart. These yarns are the November Mini Skein Club that Jim State Yarns did. I've shown the yarns before, but I think I was just on this first color last time I recorded. The inspiration photos for these yarns were like cranberries and hot chocolate, and there was something green. There is green in some of the skeins, but I don't remember what the green inspiration photo was. So I really like the colors. I don't usually knit with this much variegation. I'm usually much more a tonal, solid knitter. So the jury is still kind of out. I really like all the colors. I like the yarns. I'm not sure what I'm going to think of the finished piece, because there's I like the speckles like in this one, but the more variegated and kind of striping in this one, it's more outside my normal. But I think in the cowl it'll be nice. But because this is less my usual, I haven't picked it up as often. But like I said, really the last week or so I've been knitting on it a lot more, and I'm enjoying it. I don't really ever wear red. I like this red here, but I don't wear red much. So I don't know. I might give it to my daughter, who would wear it probably more than I would, but I'm going to finish it and see what I think before I decide. It is living in this sweet little bag that I received as part of a giveaway from Noble Character Crafts for participating in her Make 9 Megalong last year. I was so tickled to find out that I had won the giveaway, or one of the prizes from the giveaway, and I could not believe it. I received some beautiful Maker's Haven yarn and a pattern book that my girls immediately snatched, and they have been knitting all kinds of little toys from that book, and just several things, a nice sticker and a pin. It was a lovely gift package. And this bag actually is a patchwork red and pink and black kind of Valentine-y bag, but I also just really loved this interior fabric, so after I used it for a little while, I flipped it inside out and have been enjoying this. So it's a perfect purse project. It packs down really small and is great to take on the go. My next whip is in this bag from this Handmade Life. Can you even with this fabric? Have you ever seen a more perfect fabric for me? I don't think I have. This is another long-term project. Sometime back, an old friend that my family worshipped with when I was growing up asked if I would finish a blanket that her mother-in-law had left unfinished when she passed away. And I told her it would be a while before I could get it finished, and she said that's okay, just take it and work on it as you can. And it is a crochet project, and it has just been growing very slowly. I don't really ever crochet anymore. I crocheted first. Before I started to knit, I crocheted for years, but it's harder on my wrist and my hands than it used to be, and more than knitting is. And so it's not really my go-to thing. This has had to sit and take long breaks for like months at a time, but I'm determined to get it finished. So I have picked it back up recently, and my goal is to just knit crochet one square a day. So I ran out of yarn and I was away from home, so I just have from here to finish on the last row for this one. But the woman who had started the blanket had done all of her flowers, and she had finished a couple of squares and then had all the yarn in the bag to finish the blanket. So I'm just adding the green kind of greenery leaves around the flowers and then doing the white squares around that. And there was a pattern booklet in with all of the crochet bits and pieces, but she wasn't following the pattern except to do the flower. What she did with the white and I think even the green are different from the pattern. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to connect this. I probably will attach them together, like crochet them together and add more instead of sewing them together. That seems to make more sense to me. But I don't think I have ever pieced together a crocheted blanket before. So I'm going to have to figure that out, the best way to join them. But I'll figure it out. I am happy that this last time that I picked this up and started on it again, it hasn't been as hard on my hands as it was the last few times that I had picked it up. So my goal is to do one square a day just until they're all finished. Like I said, she had done a lot of flowers. I think she had done all of the flowers and then kind of started back with finishing them from there. And so I don't think I'll have to do any of the flowers. I'll just be adding the green and the white and then I'll figure out a way to join them all together to make a small blanket, which is what she was going for. I don't really know, since she wasn't using the pattern, I don't really know exactly what she had in mind, but I figure it's better to have something than just have a bag of bits and pieces. So I'm looking forward to getting that finished and sending it back to the family who asked me to finish it for them, and I think it'll be really neat for them to have that finished piece. So one more peek at my cute bag. Like, really, this is, oh, I love that fabric. And my last WIP, and I am absolutely in love with this right now. This is my Little Women bag, which I have already shown you. I love it so much. This just makes me so happy. It's the simple things, right? But this is my most recent cast on, and I just cast it on because I wanted to. I enjoy kind of setting goals for myself, like these are the things I'm going to work on or finish this month. I do that with books too, like this is the stack of books I'm hoping to read this month. So at the beginning of February, I pulled this skein out of my Make 9 basket that I have sitting over here. I'm participating in the Make 9 Make Along that Amy of Noble Character Crafts is hosting again this year, and I separated out yarn from my stash for each of these 9 projects, and I have them sitting in a basket next to my chair. And I mean, the yarns are beautiful, so it's just, you know, kind of decoration, but also it's motivation for me to stay focused on the things that the yarns I own and the things I've already planned, and maybe be a little bit less distracted by all the things. So I had this skein sitting here, and it's been calling my name. I love this colorway, and so I pulled it out of my basket and kind of decided I'm going to work on this in February. So once I finished my Candy Shop Yarns shawl, I pulled this out to cast on next. So I just cast it on because I wanted to. This is for me, and I think it's beautiful. I don't have a lot done yet, but I love it already. This is the, this is the Mara Scarf by Audrey Borrego of Yarn Flakes. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's got a lot of texture to it. There's a little bit of stockinette, a little bit of garter, some eyelets, and a little bit of ribbing. And I am knitting this at a looser gauge than the pattern calls for. I almost always have to move up at least 1, often 2 needle sizes because I have a pretty small gauge. But I really wanted this to be drapey, and so I'm knitting it at a looser gauge than the pattern calls for. But one of the beautiful things about the pattern is that it, kind of like the one I showed earlier, it kind of lays out the pattern. This is what you do, and then just do it until you have reached this much, you have used up this much yarn. So I'm really excited about this. This yarn is from Paper Crane Yarns. It is the Bloom Fingering Base in the Sunfield colorway. I picked this up the first time I visited Paper Crane Yarns, and it has been just sitting in my stash calling my name. I can't tell you how many times I pulled the skein out and just looked at it, and I didn't know what to make with it. And so when I started planning my Make 9 board for this year, I went specifically looking for a pattern that would really show off this colorway and something that I could make for me. So I just think it's so lovely. And it's the pattern is charted and has written instructions, and it took me a couple of repeats to really feel like it was becoming intuitive to me. I think that was partly because I was sleepy when I started it. But anyway, it's very easy to follow now anyway, and I really like it. So I am working on that as I can, mostly in the evenings, and I think it looks, you know, the colors match this bag so nicely, and I just love the bag. And now I'm just rambling. So that is, I guess that's all my whips that I've really been working on lately. I haven't pulled out my cardigan in a while. I want to work on it, but I've also been working on lots of gifts, and so it just hasn't gotten the attention that I kind of thought I would be giving it, but that's okay. It's there for me. And when I do pick it up, I enjoy it. It's just not as much on the front burner right now. I figure it's already not going to be ready to wear before it gets warm, so my goal is now just to wear it, at the end of the year when it gets cold again. So it's not a big rush. It'll be nice to have it done, but I'm not in a big rush either. So I guess that is all the knitting. Now, just as far as things that have been going on around here, I think if you follow me on Instagram, you already know that a few weeks ago we had our newest calf born here on the homestead, and had a very up and down couple of days with that. He ended up, we had him in the house for nearly 48 hours trying to keep him alive, and he just was not healthy, and so he did not make it. That was sad. We were really hoping for, a healthy birth and a baby that could stay in the pasture. That's really what you want. The kids were all excited when we brought him in because it's so fun, to have a bottle calf, but there's a lot more to it than that. He was adorable. We enjoyed snuggling him and taking care of him, and I think it was a really good learning experience, but not all those stories always end well. So we did everything we could, and I'm glad that we tried. But it just didn't work out this time. Other homestead news is that we now have 6 new to us pigs on the homestead that we got this week. There was a man that lives not far from us who just needed to get rid of them because they had, he was becoming overrun with pigs. They had done a very good job of procreating, and he couldn't keep up with them all. So we got several from that man and are excited to have pigs again. We haven't had any for the last several months. So my second child turned 16 this week. He was my firstborn. Our oldest we adopted, and so we didn't know her until she was a little bit older. The first one we gave birth to just turned 16 this week, and that's a little bit crazy. Our oldest is in driver's ed. She turned 16 last month, and she's had her permit for a year now, but we are doing driver's ed to help cut a little bit of the cost of insurance, and soon we'll be enrolling our son in that class as well. So that's keeping us busy. Our third child turned 15 not long ago, and we'll be getting her permit very soon. So, from now until we're done, we'll be teaching somebody to drive every year. And, wow, that feels like a lot. But they're doing well. They're learning a lot and gaining confidence, and I'm gaining confidence in riding with them. It's fine. A couple weeks ago, I was able to go with my husband on a work trip to St. Augustine, Florida. We had each been there as children with our own families, but we had not been back in many, many years, and only had been there very briefly one time each. So it was really fun to have a little bit of time to explore. He was still working regular work days. He was there for a conference. So one day while he was working, I took the truck and explored a little bit. I found a yarn shop and a used bookstore and a pretty park with a nice walking trail, and just kind of did my own thing for the afternoon that day. The other days I just stayed in the hotel room and knitted and read and listened to books, and it was glorious. The children and the dogs stayed home, and my parents had them half of the time that we were gone, and my father-in-law and his wife had them the other half of our trip. So they got some good grandparent time, and the homestead was looked after and the dogs were cared for, and it all worked out beautifully for me to get a break and them to get some time with their grandparents. And I'm so thankful that I was able to do that. I love quiet. And that's just not a thing you get very often around here. It was absolutely lovely. I had such a wonderful time. And then in the evenings, he would get off work and we would quickly change clothes and go downtown and to Old Town. We'd walk around and found some really neat restaurants and neat shops and saw some really cool things. We were able one evening to go see the fort there in St. Augustine, and that was a lot of fun. I really hope someday we can go back with the children and show them all the cool things there. For our book clubs lately, the girls and I have finished up the book we were working on before and started reading Little Women. I started Little Women last month just on my own, and then when the girls decided they also wanted to read it for book club, I put it down and then started again a couple of weeks ago. So we are about 10 chapters in at this point and just really, really enjoying that. The girls have I read it with the girls when they were younger, but they have not read it in a while. And it's just one of those books that grows with you. Every time I read it, I see something from a slightly different perspective, because I'm in a different place in my life, or my children are in their lives. So it has provided a lot of material for good conversation, and it's just such a good book. So we are really enjoying that. We had tea this morning and scones and a fruit charcuterie tray, and talked about 5 chapters this week's reading of the book. We had such a good time. On Tuesdays, the boys and I have tea, and we're still working through Sherlock Holmes. We are reading The Sign of the Four right now. I think we're about halfway through it, and then His Last Bow will be all that's left. So over a year of working through Sherlock Holmes, and we're getting closer and closer to the end. I don't know what we're going to read next. But we have enjoyed those books so much, and they always ask for me to read just one more chapter, so we usually read 2 while we're there having tea. But just such good books, and we're having such a good time. I guess that is all. I'm sure I'll think of other things I want to say as soon as I hit the stop button. That's how it goes. I hope you all are well. I look forward to catching up with you again, hopefully in 2 weeks. And I hope to hear from you between now and then, here in the comments or on Instagram. I always look forward to hearing from you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and I'll see you again soon.